Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to go over a few ways for survivors of violence against women to share their stories. And even though this is basically for women, I encourage any male survivor to jump right on in and do the same thing and throw in your story and let's bring awareness to the male side of being a survivor as well. But most of this stuff is aimed towards women's survivorship. And the first thing, storytelling can be a very powerful tool. It can help educate bystanders and demonstrate the impact that violence has on a community. It empowers survivors, giving them a voice to share and make sense of their personal experiences. Storytelling also has healing power. It is a catalyst for survivors experiencing a variety of emotions: pain, fear, guilt, confusion, etc. It reminds survivors that they are not alone. By telling and listening to stories, survivors can connect with one another that have had similar experiences. Through this experience, survivors can build long relationships that last a lifetime and develop a louder collective voice. So there is 16 ways here that you can get your story out there. Survivor storytelling suggestion number 1 is activism campaigns. There are many innovative campaigns that use unorthodox ways to tell and present survivor stories. For example, the Clothesline Project. The Clothesline Project is a vehicle for women affected by violence to express their emotions and share their stories, either anonymously or publicly. Survivors decorate a shirt, which is then displayed publicly with the shirts of other survivors on a clothesline. The hung shirts are viewed by others to demonstrate the impact violence has on our communities. Number 2, anonymous apps. Telling your story can be a cathartic exercise, even if you're not ready to publicly identify yourself as a survivor. There are many anonymous apps and websites that are great platform for anonymous storytelling, including Whisper and PostSecret. Using anonymous apps, your story may be heard by thousands of users and will have a positive impact on many. But with that, always use caution. Number 3, blogs. A blog is a personal online diary, similar to using a journal. It gives you the opportunity to share your thoughts, questions, wishes, and stories. Blogs can be made anonymous, or you can tell your story publicly. If setting up a blog seems like a daunting task, you have the opportunity to submit a post to someone else's and allow them to circulate it for you. Number 4, connect with an existing organization. Connecting with an existing organization ensures your story will be heard. This increases the chances you will positively impact somebody else. Many organizations working to end violence against women produce survivor story series, including the Pixel Project Survivor Stories Project, Women Against Abuse, and the Voices and Faces Project. Number 5, connect with journalists. When discussing violence against women, journalists seek out various angles, including survivor stories. There are various websites that you can sign up for, which will allow you to receive story calls from journalists, including Help a Reporter Out, HARO, to give you an opportunity to share your story. Number 6, ebooks. Getting published is no longer as difficult with the option to self-publish. Now, you do not have to acquire an agent, distribute manuscripts, and wait for an acceptance. With the rise of the digital era, everyone has the option to write and publish their own ebook. Now, you can use ebooks as a storytelling platform through either fiction or nonfiction. Number 7. Educational groups. Many high schools, colleges, and universities have their own assault response centers or groups focusing on violence against women or girls. Included in these services are counselors or therapists on call to listen to your story privately. These groups also become an avenue to tell your story on a more public level by becoming a leader or ambassador. Number 8. Facebook groups. Joining a Facebook group is an instant way to connect to other survivors around the world. You are able to post questions, share resources, and give or receive support. It is important to note that while some groups may be private or secret and highly moderated, there are still public to a certain extent, as your Facebook profile is attached and other group members will be able to identify you. Number 9. Magazine articles. Being selected to be featured in a magazine article about survivors is a way to tell your story to the masses. You may be asked to write an article yourself or be interviewed by someone else. Magazines may be traditional print publications or digital, including Together for Girls Safe magazine or It Happened to Me series. Number 10. Various organizations host message boards and support forums, including Fort Refuge. There, survivors can connect with one another, share their stories, or offer or receive resources. These boards are beneficial because they can be anonymous or public, and are also moderated by an admin or community member, ensuring negativity remains off the message boards. Number 11. Opinion editorial. As a survivor, you may have helpful, informed opinions on news headlines, law changes, and other issues and factors related to violence against women. One way to share your story is through opinion editorials in a newspaper, either digital or in print. Unlike traditional editorials, opinion editorials, also known as op-eds, are written from a subjective view and use personal experience to tell the story or argue a point. And number 12, podcast. A podcast is a digital audio recording that users can download and listen to on their own. Podcasts have been used for over 10 years and continue to gain popularity. Many people flock to podcasts because they can listen while doing other things as opposed to a video, television, or reading blogs. When telling your story via podcasting, you have a variety of options. For example, you can tell your story as a guest on a current podcast, including Mark Metcalf's or the Ruth Institute's podcast, or you can create your own. Number 13. Poetry. A new form of therapy, poetry therapy, is developing because writing poetry is an extremely intimate and healing experience. It can also be a very personal or public experience depending on your desire. You can write poetry for yourself, either in a journal or on a private blog. If you are comfortable, you can also share your poetry online or at a poetry reading. Number 14. Twitter. Twitter is an easy, accessible way for survivors to tell their stories. Stories can be told independently through your own personal account, though an anonymous account, or through a hashtag such as hashtag #RapeHasNoUniform. As Scott Berkowitz, founder and president of RAINN, said, having this whole community of other people who have been through something similar can be really empowering for people. And number 15, volunteer at events. Volunteering at events is an important way to tell your story because you will be connecting directly with supporters and activists. These events provide various opportunities for storytelling, including keynote speaker, presenter, or mingling with donors, volunteers, or guests. And number 16, YouTube. YouTube is easily accessible and one of the fastest growing social media platforms around. Accounts are free, and technology to record, edit, and upload a video are easy to use and inexpensive. Many people go to YouTube to tell, listen, and share stories, especially about overcoming adversity. There are many creators that will give you an opportunity to tell your story. I am one of them. So, with that being said, there is 16 ways that a survivor can tell their complete story, get the word out, not having people tell them, oh, you're wrong, or are you sure that happened, or whatever. There is many support systems that allow you to tell your story. As much of it as you want. If you want to leave out details, or you want to, just completely all the way through the story, that's always up to you. But as a survivor myself, I highly recommend putting the stories out there, getting more awareness for it, and unfortunately, most of these are aimed towards women. Like, that's, I don't know. Violence against women is something that is just so popular these days that when it happens, people don't even really stop and think about it. Like, it's just another statistic. But the problem I have with everything that is aimed towards the survivorship of a woman is the fact that men are victims too. Men need to become survivors as well. We're leaving men out in the victim space when we need to be reeling them in as well as survivors. Because abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter your identity or anything. Abuse is abuse. No means no. And so any of these options, even though they are written up to support women, I encourage any man to do the same. Throw your 2 cents in there. Throw your story in the mix. Bring awareness to the fact that abuse happens to everybody, not just somebody, some person, some group, people like to minimize it. And it's not something that can be minimized. Anyway, there was a 16 thing, so I'm going to start working on the next series probably at the end of the day. Have a good day, everybody.